Great, thank you. Well, thank you for coming in. The Columbian is pleased to welcome candidates for 17th Legislative District, Position 2, I believe.
Yes.
I'm Greg Jane. I'm the editorial page editor, and I'll let other editorial board members introduce themselves.
I'm Colleen Keller. I'm the assistant news editor of the Columbian and a member of the editorial board.
Ben?
Ben Campbell, co-owner and publisher of the Columbian.
And I apologize, our fourth editorial board member couldn't be here today. That is Craig Brown, the editor of the paper. But anyway, we're pleased to have the candidates. Why don't you take 1 to 2 minutes, introduce yourselves, explain why you're running for this position, and then we'll move on to specific policy issues. Then we'll start with Hannah.
Sure. Well, my name is Hannah Joy. I'm running for the position number 2. I was a small business owner. I'm a mother of 6 children. I'm a wife of a veteran. I have been very involved with our community, from being secretary of the Wind River Business Association to helping out with many activities in the county, and as well as a Legion Hall, which my husband was commander of. And working with the community, working very closely with community, I realized we need some people in Olympia who are actually listening to people. And if I can't find one, I'll be one.
Great, thank you. And I'm sorry, where do you live?
Carson.
Carson, that's great, thank you. David?
Yeah, so my name's David Stuebe, running for the 17th District, Position 2. I've had a pretty interesting background. So I've been in the Marine Corps for 30 years, retired colonel. Got into the pharmaceutical company, did a lot of healthcare leadership over there, and currently the mayor of Washougal. That has been an epic experience and had a lot of successes working in Olympia and working back at DC, bringing tax dollars back to our city. And working with the guys up in Olympia, they gave me a call and said, hey, we like what you bring and what you offer, and we'd like you to step up and come up to Olympia with us. So I excited about doing that. So that's why I'm running. There's a lot of things going on with the city that is important for the whole state. And I'm realizing by talking with all the mayors in Washington that we have a lot of the same issues. So I think that's why I want to take this to another level and see if I can help out up there. I think my strength is being able to bring people together. And that's what I intend to do up on the Hill.
Great, thank you. And Terri?
Hi, I'm Terri Niles. I'm a 25-year ICU nurse. I spent 25 years serving my community and caring for people. It has been an honor. And I want to bring that kind of commitment and to service to Olympia, to serve the people and in this district. I'm married to a Republican. My partner is a Republican. We've lived together for 16 years. I'm running on not, doing something about the political divide that's out there, the hyperpartisanship. I think that our district deserves better than that. And so I have 16 years of experience doing that. We might not always agree on everything, but we will sit down, we'll talk it out, and we'll find things common ground that we can agree on. I've been knocking on doors and talking to people in this district, and I overwhelmingly hear that they feel like we are stagnated and we're not making any progress. The things that I'm hearing about are kitchen table items. And, campaigning is not about big fundraisers and having big town halls or anything. It's about actually sitting down and talking to people. So things like affordable housing and lack of affordable and accessible childcare, healthcare, those are the issues that people in the district are talking to me about. And I am running to actually to do something about that and actually make some progress. I am also I served as the vice president of the AURN at OHSU, 3,500 nurses, and have served and negotiated contracts throughout my career as a union nurse. So I have a lot of experience finding consensus because in my 25 years, I've never worked someplace where we had to go on strike. We were always able to sit at the table with people that have very different ideas and very different outcomes that they would like to see and come to a consensus. So I want to bring that to Olympia and be a voice, a pragmatic voice for common sense solutions.
Great, thank you. And thanks again to each of you for being here. I think Terri touched on it. One of the big issues throughout the state is homelessness and housing and affordable housing. What should be the legislature's role in dealing with that, and how would you approach that? And we'll start with David.
All right, well, thank you. I have a lot of thoughts on this, and I think it's because of the role being the mayor. There's a lot of sad stories with that. We've got a lot of seniors that are being forced out of their housing because companies have come in, they've bought apartment complexes, they've raised the rent $400 a month. And that's tough for somebody living on fixed income. The homeless situation, we're doing a lot of things with, we're doing them today. We've got heating stations, cooling stations that's going on right now. They can probably get a free meal through our churches, refuel. There's so much. I'm working with the Salvation Army. I'm on that board. So we're trying to help out, but I'm going to take it a step further, and it's got to be more than just enabling. And we have to come up with some solutions. We've been, hey, we got to give them free house. We got to give them all this. And I think my position is I want to solve this problem. And to solve it, I think we've got to look at the big issue. Big issue is not just homelessness, not just the price of housing going out of control. Every one of those is a different silo. With the homelessness, it's a drug issue. It's a situation issue. It's a mental illness issue. It's a bad luck issue. It's an economy issue. We need to look at each of those silos differently and not just try and put one big Band-Aid over the whole thing. The affordable housing, I've got first responders, I've got nurses, I've got teachers, I've got my own kids that can't even afford their own first home. And they have decent jobs. They've been saving. But I think the average home in Washougal is $165,000. No, $650,000. That's a lot of money. Yes, they're making more money, but it's hard when they go in, they've saved, they think they have enough to, get a loan, and then somebody comes in with cash and they pay actually more. So there's got to be ways that we've got to figure that out.
So is all of this, is it something that should be up to the legislature, or should it be at the city and county level? How much can Olympia do to address this?
And that's a really good question, Greg. I know we are trying to solve things at the city level. We're trying to solve things using the VHA, the Vancouver Housing Authority. We're looking at ways to add assistance to them through a lot of different organizations out there. But that's just our city. And every other city is doing the same thing, trying to figure out solutions. So again, it kind of comes back to the leadership. What can we do collectively? What are your pearls? What are your lessons learned? And maybe that is something that we do take up to Olympia to say, okay, what's working, what's not working, and how do we come up with a solution? And really, that's all I'm trying to do, even up to Olympia. It's going to be, what's the issue? What's the mission? How do we collectively come together and provide a solution that makes sense?
Let's move on. Terri, your thoughts on housing and homelessness?
Housing and homelessness?
Mhm.
Okay. Affordable housing is a very complex issue. I think the legislature is doing a good job of this year trying to, combat that and do something about that.
How so? What did they do that you approve of?
Well, I think that they put in some grants for new home ownership and those kind of things. I know it was a priority this time. Homelessness is a very broad issue. I don't believe that things can be separately siloed. I think everything has to be looked at. People that are homeless, it's not just a mental health problem. It's not just a drug problem. It's lack of it's affordability and not being able to afford a home or a place to, lay your head down at night. But so all of these are interconnected, and so not one thing is going to solve it. I think you need to look at the root causes of homelessness and actually address those root causes. And like I said, I think it's lack of affordability. It's it's the price of rents, the price of home. The one thing that the legislature did not do was pass rent stabilization, and I do support the rent stabilization bill. And I know that almost made it through the House, but didn't make it through the Senate. So I think we need to do something to stabilize rents and make it where people can stay at home and they don't end up on the streets.
And before we get to Hannah, David, were you in favor of the rent stabilization bill?
I think something needs to be done, and that might be the solution. But there's also.
Would you have voted in favor of it if you run the legislature?
I would have to look at that hard. I don't want it to get out of control, and I think it's way out of control. So if that would be a measure to help ease into it, then I would be in favor of that. Yeah.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to Hannah. Your thoughts on housing and homelessness, and what should Olympia do?
Sure. So I think Olympia needs to lessen the restrictions we have around construction, licensing fees, building fees. There is a myriad of fees and licensing that goes into building a home that increases the cost for everybody. Not only that, a lot of it is a city and countywide issue. Things like voting for ADUs on properties, for multi-housing. These are things that can really lessen this burden. I'll tell you, having worked in the lumber industry, lumber right now is an all-time low. So why are we not seeing massive building? We're not seeing it because nobody can get a loan or the loan rates are too high. We, as a legislature, should be doing things to decrease the cost of building houses so that people can build them and then sell them for affordable rates. Homelessness, I think it is a direct cause of the drug issue in Washington. Drugs are a major issue. It is one of the reasons why I oppose the light rail, because we do not need to have any other avenues of drug trafficking coming into the state through that way. And I think if we get to handle the drug issue, we can see a decrease in homelessness.
So do you not think that drugs have a gateway without light rail? Well, how does light rail exacerbate that problem?
It's been proven multiple times in Portland that light rail is used to traffic drugs to different parts of the city. And it is very true that it will happen into Washington if it comes here as well.
Yeah. Go.
I don't know if that's been proven, and I don't know how somebody would prove something like that. But I do agree with a lot that she said about affordable housing with the zoning and ADUs and those kind of making sustainable and create that's a way to create more homes. Light rail. All I want to say about is as a ICU nurse during snowstorms, I could not get to OHSU. I could not. It took me like 4 or 5 hours to drive there to take care of the sickest people in our region in the intensive care. Who did get to ICU to take care of patients were the nurses and doctors that took light rail and be returned. So it is a safety issue. It is a healthcare issue. And I think people need to look at that and consider that when they're talking about light rail. I've used light rail all over the world and never had an issue, never had, my family lives in San Francisco and use it all the time.
And when you get back, Hannah, were you in favor of the rent stabilization bill?
I actually don't know very much about it, so I don't feel I'm well versed enough to be able to speak on it.
Actually, I appreciate that. The honest answer. So, Colleen?
Yeah, we have, there's 3 big initiatives that are going to be on the ballot this year with the Climate Commitment Act, capital gains, and then the Wash Cares, the long-term care program. I'd just like to know where each of you, what your stance is on those three initiatives. And Hannah, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So I was actually the state director of operations for the 6 initiatives when they first came out. And it was an amazing experience. I got to travel across the entire state of Washington, talk to all spectrums of voters and citizens, and realized really quickly, these initiatives are not partisan at all. These are something everybody needs. They're common sense solutions. We got over 400,000 signatures in all 6. On the 7th one that just came out, which was to prevent the ban on the carbon, prevent the ban on the gas, natural gas ban, sorry. We got over 1 million signatures on that in less time than we had for the 6 initiatives. This is proof that Olympia is completely out of touch with the way they are making laws and how the people feel on the ground. I support all 7 of them fully. With regards directly to the one you had mentioned, which was the carbon.
Right, yes.
So in its first year, it had produced $2.1 billion, was $1.4 billion over the estimated income they were going to pull in from that. None of that went back to our infrastructure. None of that went back to our road systems. It went towards diversity, equity, inclusion. It went towards carbon things to prevent. It did nothing for the people. It was not a tangible item that you can say this did something for anybody. And that's $2.1 billion of money that went where? Well, not to fix our potholes, not for a bridge, not to help with removing tolls. Where'd it go? That's a big issue. An allocation of our money needs to be tight. And the legislature, in my opinion, is failing to do that.
So that with that money, you don't think that reducing carbon benefits the people of Washington?
Not at the expense of them not being able to afford food, housing, clothes, gas. Absolutely not.
Sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No, Dave, what about you?
Okay, so, Colleen, tell me the 3 again. Carbon,
The big ones, as Hannah mentioned, the Climate Commitment Act, which
Okay.
has the carbon cap and trade program, with the carbon options,
sure,
capital gains tax, and then the long-term care
okay.
tax, which is a payroll.
Yeah,
tax.
so I'll start off because I like what Hannah said about the carbon thing. It's important. I mean, I've traveled all over the world too, and I've seen 3rd world countries, I've seen big countries, and just some of the pollution issues out there. We need to do something for the world. I mean, today's the hottest day, right, in Washington, and it has been changing. But for Washington to take on that all by itself, I think there's got to be a balance with it. We got to be responsible. We got to be a leader to the rest of the world, right? And what we do with this, but we can't do it at the expense of people. We can't take that burden on all by ourselves. And like what Hannah said, we need to think about our businesses, our affordable housing, fixing the potholes. There's got to be a responsible way to do that. So, I mean, I'm for it, but I want to make sure we do it responsibly and we're not doing it at the sacrifice of our people. The other one was what was it, the last one? Oh, the healthcare. That's a hard one too. I don't like governments telling people what to do. And there's a lot of people, long-term healthcare. I have a mom in a senior assisted living place right now, and I see the residents there and the issues that they're dealing with, and it's tough. But I think that having something imposed upon us, like, okay, you're an employee and you have to have this type of insurance, it should be our choice. I mean, there should be different options out there. And I think that, well, especially, I look at my kids. I've got kids that are young that are going to have to pay into that. But if they move out of state, they lose all that benefits. They have other options, through their employers and stuff. So again, it's all about the balance. Why don't we look at all the ramifications of doing that? And there are too many side factors that can influence that. And I don't think that was a sound decision. Probably a good idea originally, but I don't think the outcome's going to be good with that. So not in favor of that. And the one in the middle was capital gains tax. Don't know enough about that. I own property up here in the house, and when you sell that, again, I want some equity with that. I think when you work hard, and I'm in that position now, I'm retired, so I've worked hard. I want to kind of keep what I've worked for. And I think if you change things, I just want to make sure that we can continue to keep what we burned out there. I do agree that when there's big businesses out there that they can help contribute, I'm all about that partnership. And I don't want to penalize them for bringing a business into our state or into our city, but I want them to be a partnership of the people, right? It's their employees, it's their employees' kids. And I just want to make sure that we're making decisions that's going to be fair for everybody and we all contribute and help out.
Okay, all right, Terry, and then after Terry gets a chance to address, I do have just a follow-up sort of related to
Okay,
this. Go ahead.
okay, so let's talk about the capital gains tax. We have 8 million people in this state. I think it was 3,400 people out of those 8 million people paid some capital gains tax. So these are people, I don't know anybody that paid any capital gains tax. I don't know if any of you know anybody that paid a capital gains tax. The IRAs, the deductions are such that most people will not be affected. The capital gains tax goes to, is used to fund early childhood development and K through 12 schools. So that's where that funding is going. So the one thing that really kind of bothers me about all these fiscal initiatives that are happening is I feel like it's very fiscally irresponsible to have initiatives that are going to blow up a budget. We have one of the most fiscally sound states in the country. And we have a triple rating with Moody. Washington is really good. I don't know if that's going to be around once, people see that, oh, we can have initiatives passed that just blow up our budget. And as far as, the other side of the aisle being fiscally responsible, I see what they're doing here as very fiscally responsible. If you want to fix something, you want to fix some legislation, then people need to come to the table and make that happen. But the programs that we're going to lose if the capital gains, what number was it? 2109 passes, will hurt people. So the people that are benefiting from that, these 3,400 millionaires, billionaires that actually don't want to pay that, those are the people that's not the people I'm running to represent. I'm wanting to represent the people that is actually going to affect. And that's, pretty much everybody around me, And so the other one, the Climate Commitment Act. So the Climate Commitment Act, particularly in our rural communities, is providing fundings for forest maintenance, salmon protection, things that really matter to the 17th LD. We have beautiful gorge area, and we have to protect against wildfires and those kind of things. So the funding for that is kind of earmarked for those kind of investments. It's earmarked for protecting old forest and new forest management. It's fixing culverts. I do believe also that, people that are complaining about toll fees, I think there's a couple, like $2 billion that is going to go over the line to help with tolls in the I-5 bridge when it comes in. So if you want to keep tolls down, then I think that you need to keep the Climate Commitment Act. The other things it does is it helps people weatherize their homes. It provides funding for those kind of things. And, I believe that climate change is real. And I believe that we are today walking in almost 100-degree weather. I know that it's an issue, and it's an issue for the people in my district as well. So that one, the Washington Cares Act as a nurse is particularly important to me. Long-term care in this country is broken. I mean, it's completely broken. This long-term care I think is particularly important to people that live in rural communities, because this long-term care funds are not to, pay for someone to be in, a living facility or something. This is for people to be able to stay in their homes, and it provides them resources to make that happen in their homes where they can age in place. And I think when I talk to people in my rural district, that's really important to them. They don't want to have to go into a nursing home. They don't want to make that happen. So having this very, very small payroll tax to pay for that, I think that Washington is leading in that, and I think that we'll probably see other states around the country doing that as well.
In that regard, and I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
it is a small payroll tax, but therefore the benefits are not that great. Are the benefits enough? Would you expand the benefits of Washington Cares?
Well, I think that this is a start. Like, we're the first in the nation to do it. So this is a great start. And it's a great start, like I said, for people that, want to age at home. And they want to stay at home as much as they can. People in my district. And, but there needs to be more done to help with long-term care. It's going to be a crisis. And, as more people age out and, so it is something that I would do more, and we should look at that as a state and expand.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just was gonna ask in regards specifically to capital gains. One of the ideas is it sort of helps address the sort of inequity in taxation, if you will. Our state is viewed in many ways as being rather aggressive,
Right.
where taxes are concerned. If it were to go away, besides just forget about the education funding aspect of it. Should the legislature then be doing something to make taxation more fair in the state, so that the lower you are on the income scale, it's not taking that bigger bite out of your income? So Hannah, I'm going to start with you again.
We have a tiered tax system in the state of Washington. The capital gains tax is absolutely 100% an income tax, which is stated clearly in our Washington state constitution that we shall not have an income tax.
But the state Supreme Court ruled that it wasn't.
But the federal didn't. It was just the state. And so, I mean, you can argue that, but it is what it is. I think that our taxing system right now is actually too much. We are seeing for every $100 a small business makes, they are netting $4 to $7. The taxation is out of control in the state of Washington. For small businesses, for families, it is unlivable. So let's first start by reducing taxes to make people be able to afford groceries again, be able to afford to put gas in their car to go to work, be able to afford to send their daughter to ballet class. Let's go ahead and make cost of living more affordable before we talk about taxing more.
Okay, that's it. Dave.
So, I'm sorry, I want to go back. So if Washington is unlivable, then how did we generate more than $1 billion in capital gains taxes? Obviously, somebody is making a lot of profit.
Well, I mean, when you demand somebody gives you money or you throw them in jail, I think they're going to give you the money. I mean, when you put a tax on the table and you say, pay this tax, like property tax, or we're going to take your home, or pay this tax, or you'll be punished for not paying it. People are going to pay taxes. They don't want to get in trouble. I mean, you can.
Okay, but they qualified to pay those taxes by making X amount in profits.
What's wrong with making profit?
Oh, I didn't say anything's wrong with that. I'm just saying it's.
Then why punish them for it?
So, okay, that's an answer. So go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Dave, again, is something need to be done where taxation is concerned in this state then, because you too oppose the capital gains?
Yeah, so I always hate that thing. The two things are inevitable in life, right? Taxes and death, right? But, I look at, again, running a city. I've got to pay for fire. I've got to pay for public works and potholes and all those things. And I tell you, every time we hear about all the things that the city has to pay for, it kills me. And I can't sleep at night. I'm like, how are we going to pay for that stuff? So I want to have pretty parks. I want to have nice roads. I want to have healthcare. I want to have people that can come and live in a community and actually not only just pay their mortgage, but pay for their savings which they can't do right now. They're living paycheck to paycheck and groceries and all that stuff. It's out of control. So I empathize for that. I do know that we do need to collect money. It just has to be fair, right? If we've got people that are not paying taxes and making way too much money, then there's something wrong with that. If we've got people that's a first responder, a nurse, and they can't even afford to pay their rent and can't afford to pay childcare and healthcare, whatever, that's an issue. And those are the things I want to look at to find out what are we doing wrong, because we're doing something wrong. Other countries out there have gorgeous bridges and their cities are clean, and even some third world countries that I've been to. But we're in a situation where we shouldn't be in this situation, and we need to figure out why not. And I don't have all the answers, but if you can surround yourself by smart people and listen to them and talk to them and come up with solutions, I think we can get out of this mess. So there's my answer on that one.
Okay, Terri.
So Washington State did have the most regressive tax system in the country. And having a regressive tax system actually means that the people that make the less money pay the majority of the tax. And so having a capital gains tax, and let me repeat it, it's 3,400 people out of 8 million that had to pay a capital gains tax. And you know what that did? It made us now not the most regressive, it made us the second most regressive. So we have a lot of things to do about our tax structure. There's no reason that the poorest among us should be paying the largest majority, paying the highest percentage of their income into taxes. So there needs to be something about that. I do want to remind people that this is not something that I don't know if anybody in the room knows somebody that paid a capital gains tax, or I certainly don't. The people that I'm running to represent are the people that are paying the highest percentage of their income in taxes. And those are not the 3,400 people that paid for the capital gains tax. Nobody is leaving the state because of capital gains tax. It's an excise tax. Our Supreme Court made a decision. It is an excise tax. And so we don't have an income tax. I think if we had an income tax, I think all of us would know it. I know I don't pay an income tax. So the initiatives did get a lot of signatures, but I think we all ran into those people when they were blocking, shopping center doors and what their message was very, very hyper and not really very true. They talked about an income tax, like we have an income tax in Washington. We did this, you don't want to have to pay an income tax. And so everything was very elevated. And so I think that there was a lot of lack of transparency in collecting those signatures. And I think when people at the ballot, and polling has said, when people at the ballots actually find out what this really means, and what these support, and what people will lose if these pass, I think we're going to see that the initiatives don't pass. What bothers me is that, we elected officials, legislators to make decisions for us, right? And so that's what they are doing up there. What bothers me is now we had a billionaire that paid $6 million for these initiatives to be put on the ballot, and he's not an elected official. And he had people out there saying, telling untruths about what they were signing. They didn't really realize what they were signing. I know somebody that signed a petition goes, well, they said that this would make my gas go down, and that's all they told me. And so it's okay, I'll sign it. So I think that it was very shady. It's not a way for us to do business as a legislature or as a state. I think that coming together and like if something is wrong and let's working on it, but the way this went about, this is just not the way to govern. And so I appreciate the initiative process, but this one was bought and paid for by somebody, a millionaire from Seattle that doesn't want to pay his fair share of taxes.
Ben?
Yeah, so David, in your opening statement, you said that you bring people together.
Yes.
Terri, you mentioned consensus. I'd be curious for each of you to talk a little bit about your collaboration and communication skills, because I feel like that is more important than ever working in the legislature. So let's start with Terri.
Okay, okay, that's a good question, and thank you. Like I said, I mentioned that I was fixed, my father worked for NASA and, a very conservative family. I was brought up in a very conservative family. My husband is a conservative, and so I have like a really long history of being able to work together to make that happen, plus my labor and negotiation skills. I do think that it's, talking about policy, everybody's gonna have disagreements. And I think that keeping that to policy, but no hyper partisanship that we saw, with the initiatives, no being truthful and transparent with each other. I think that's very important. I look forward, when elected, I know that Representative Waters is running unopposed. I look forward to working with him. I look forward to working with him about issues that has a lot of knowledge about. So I think that particularly our legislators down here in Southwest Washington work well together and, collaborate together and work across the aisle. So I really want to see that. I think that the people in our district deserve better. They deserve better than like hyper partisanship. So I don't know if I answered your question. Okay.
Well, Ben, I think I learned this early in life, but a lot of it comes from the military, the Marine Corps. But I learned that if you take care of people, they take care of you. And it's all about the team, right? And you have a mission out there and you bring a team together. And if everybody believes in the mission and what they want to accomplish, amazing things can happen. And not one person can do it by themselves, right? You just don't come in and say, okay, we're going to do it this way. You need to listen. You need to get the expertise out there and bring people together. Later on, when I was lieutenant colonel, I started working with these purple billets. And so that's everybody. That's, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, coalition forces. And everybody is trained a different way, especially when you have coalition forces that you want to bring together. But if you bring them in, you tell them the information they need to make an educated decision. You listen to how everybody would do something. And then you bring it down to courses of actions. And if you bring people in, they understand what the outcome is and what we're trying to accomplish, and they believe in that, then people work together. It doesn't matter if they're over here or over here. And I think from my experiences doing that a lot, that I've been very successful by bringing those people together. My whole saying in the military was always one team, one fight, and built a lot of trust. And you got to earn that trust. You got to earn that respect. You can't command that. So that's how I learned my collaboration.
Yeah.
So, in our Washington State Constitution, it says that all political power is inherent in the people. The initiative process was a tool that was afforded us through the Washington State Constitution for the people to stand up and take a stance on something when they feel like their government was not listening. That being said, I believe in balance. I do agree that hyperpartisanship is an issue. The progressive left has taken over Olympia. There is no balance in Olympia where you have equal representation of left and right, which is necessary because we have a diverse state. There needs to be balance where both sides have equal power to be able to discuss things and come to the table and be able to negotiate. And right now we don't have that. We have a very heavy imbalance of the progressive left. And that is being seen with the laws that they are passing. And it is being seen that the people don't appreciate that with the initiatives that they've been afforded through the Washington State Constitution to take advantage of.
Haven't Democrats taken over Olympia because they keep winning elections?
I didn't say Democrats, and I would say it was very much the progressive left.
Okay, hasn't the progressive left taken over Olympia because they keep winning elections?
Here so.
Okay. Colin?
Yeah, all three of you, I believe on in your campaign websites materials also mentioned public safety, law enforcement. One of the today, the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, their annual crime report came out today and compares 2023 to 2022. Overall crime was down, but there are still some areas of great concern. But one of the numbers that really jumped out at me is that Washington still has the fewest law enforcement officers in the entire country. What the director of the association says the state needs probably like 8,000 law enforcement officers. What do you see as the legislature's role in helping address that? So, and David, how about we start with you?
Well, I was really excited when the governor opened up a police training facility up in Ridgefield, went and toured that. So before, it was really hard to get officers to sign up and then to go all the way up by Seattle and get their training up there. And it was like, I think, a 3-month course. So by having a facility down locally, I was really excited to see that. And I think that was a good move because we want good officers, and we have them. And, I've done the ride-alongs, and, one of my guys is a county sniper, but he was also a former Naval SEAL. And just really proud to have officers like that. I just swore in 2 last night. So they just completed that training. One was the auto grant. So I was really excited about that. But I think, one, we want to encourage people to take on that profession. I have a couple friends, a couple kids' friends that used to be police officers, but they were in Portland and they just didn't want to do that job. And if they're not supported, if they're not proud of having that type of job, then we have a serious problem. So I want to make that profession honorable, which it is, appreciated and rewarded, because there are the first responders and the heroes of our communities. So I want to build that reputation back up for them, give them whatever they need, because they protect us. And I think that's the big start with that. And that will help with recruitment and make people want to get into that profession. But it's got to be something that they're proud of and they know that their community backs them up. And I think that's been lost. And we're just getting that back now.
Just curious, how large is Washington's police force?
So we have 23 officers.
And has the budget increased or decreased in recent years?
Increased. We hired 2 more officers, but that's
Those were new
because
positions?
new positions, because we have now the body-worn cameras. So we had to increase that, plus our population is growing.
Sure.
So that's why we've done that.
Okay.
Hannah, no, go ahead. Hannah, what do you see as the legislature's role where the law enforcement is concerned in those numbers?
I think one of the things the legislature did recently to help fix that was the Blake fix. We have to uncuff our officers to be able to do their job and actually protect us as citizens. We also have to allow them to protect businesses. We're seeing massive retail theft at a rate we've never seen before. You can't even get soap without getting somebody to unlock a cage for you. We need to make crime illegal again, and we need to prosecute criminals. It's, in my mind, that easy. Fund them, appreciate them. I don't see little boys and girls anymore growing up saying, I want to be a firefighter or a policeman. There's a shift in the culture in our state that needs to come back. These are peace officers. They're here for our well-being. They're here to protect us. I think body cams are massively important and should be for every police and every deputy, sheriff, and police department. And so I think these are some of the things that Washington State can do. Okay, they continue doing things like the Blake fix. They can continue funding so that we can get more police officers and more deputies on staff and do their job.
where would you think, because you are in favor also though of reducing taxes, so where do you see shifting things to provide more money for law enforcement?
So Washington State has actually had I forget the name, but more money than they estimate coming in from our taxes for several years. And that money just gets spent on different things. If we actually start allocating our tax dollars to where they're supposed to go and not to pet projects on the side, we're going to find out really quickly we actually do have the money to be able to handle these things. We just need to allocate our tax money appropriately. So that's where I feel that. And I think we also need to talk to the Western Sheriff's Association and we need to talk to the State Patrol and ask them, what do you need? We shouldn't be guessing what they need. We need to be asking them, what is it that you need to be successful? How can we build you up to do your job well? And we need to then listen to them.
Okay, thanks. Terry, how about you?
Okay, so, public safety is, it's a critical issue and safety is really important to me. As an intensive care work nurse, I have worked with police, firefighters, first responders my entire life. I know what they go through on a daily basis, and I think I know how to fix it. I know how to provide them the resources that they want. I did start, but public safety is not just about enforcement. It's also about creating safe, livable cities. But I worked in Eugene when the Cahoots program came out, and I worked very closely with them. And they coordinated with police officers, and I saw that program save lives. Vancouver is doing the same thing with like the HART program, something very similar. That Cahoots program is a national model on how to save lives and help police officers do their job. It's a kind of a different world we live in, right? So they need much different resources. I think people are going to firefighter. My grandson is about to graduate and he's going to be a firefighter. I took him down to the Union Hall when I got my endorsement by the Vancouver firefighters. And they welcomed him in and showed him around. But I think it is an honorable profession. I just think that it needs to be fully funded. They need to be given the resources, and communities need to be given the resources. And these things that we're spending money on, I think are very important. Public safety, like I said, it's not just about enforcement. It is about having parks and recreation areas and senior centers and having places where people can live and thrive so we don't have a lot of crime. So if you look at the root causes of crime and unaffordability, no affordable housing, those kind of things, that's the way to kind of address it, I believe. So I think that community policing, I think, is a great answer to that question. And it's one that I have a lot of experience with. I do want to mention that I'm from a huge family of firefighters and police. My mother had 13 brothers and sisters. And so they all were firefighters and they were my heroes. And so first responders are still my heroes.
Real quick, just a couple of issues I'm going to touch on. First of all, and Hannah, we talked about this a couple of years ago when you ran. Would you support a statewide ban on abortion?
I would support the people's vote on abortion issues.
Okay.
It is up to the people to choose.
Okay. David, would you support a statewide ban on abortion?
That's, again, I'm new to this arena, right? But I do have my own thoughts with that. And no, I don't think I would do that. I would listen to the people, but I also have 4 daughters. I have, I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts about that and I need to get way more educated on that. But I wouldn't support a statewide ban. Yeah.
Sure.
So I think everybody knows how I feel about this issue. But I, like most Americans, believe that personal decisions about pregnancy should be made by you with the support of people you love and trust, not politicians. Though the party on the other side says they wouldn't support a statewide ban on abortion, they are chipping away at women's rights. They are voting against things like protecting your healthcare data. They are voting against things like protecting like physicians and doctors from giving reproductive care from people that from out of state. So chipping away at your rights. So you can say that I wouldn't support a ban. It's still happening. So I will always stand with people. So to make that own decision for myself. I think as legislators, we need to ensure that people have the care they need when they need it. And that includes reproductive health care for all. I know it's particularly bad in our rural communities where people have to travel long distances to get any kind of reproductive care. So I would support, I think that's what bothers me is so much is just watching votes happen up in Olympia that are, like I said, are chipping away at women's rights.
And then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hannah, go ahead.
I was gonna say something, but I'm not sure. I want to amend this to simply say my personal stance as a person and as a Christian is I am fully pro-life.
Okay.
And I want to say that because there's a difference between a personal life and there's a difference between a legislator.
Can you continue to separate those if you are in office in Olympia?
I don't think I would have to need to separate them.
And so what if the issue came up? If in the legislature, there was a serious debate about banning abortion?
Would it go to a vote of the people or would it be decided by the legislature?
Let's say the legislature wanted to decide it. How would you vote?
It's pretty hypothetical. Do I ever think that Washington State will ever get to that point? No.
If they did, how would you vote?
I would have to be in the moment, but I am pro-life.
And then one other real quick, any thoughts or concerns about education and curriculum regarding critical race theory or inappropriate reading materials? Do you think the legislature should be involved in that? We'll start with Terri.
So I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Regarding education curriculum, specifically critical race theory or inappropriate reading materials, should the legislature be involved with that?
I think that the legislature has done a good job of allowing that to happen at the school board level and those kind of things. And
should it continue? And
yeah,
that-
and I think that people do have a choice of what happens. They elect school board members. They can change their school board around. And so I think people do have a choice on what is taught in their schools. I know that there's people here that don't support our public schools. They want to push a charter school model. And that is basically defunding public schools. I mean, I'll just say it right out like that. And so that would be something that I would really push back about the defunding of, just like I don't agree with defunding police, I don't agree with defunding public schools. I feel like the way our system is set up in public schools, at least we have a say of what happens. We go to the ballots, we elect school board members, and so that's how we have a say. If we get rid of that model and have a tiered system of schools with the charter school thing that people are pushing, you don't have a say anymore. Once the money leaves our public school system, then you don't have a say of what happens in the public schools.
Thank you. David, thoughts on public schools?
So all for public schools. I know that being on a school board is tougher than being on a city council. Being and going to their meetings and working with the superintendent in Washougal Camas, tough job. And all the issues that were coming on, I remember coming out of one of those meetings and talking to the kids afterwards, like, hey, so what do you guys think about what's going on? They're like, we don't know. Our parents are mad at our teachers, but we like our teachers. And so as far as government being involved with what goes on in the school, I agree with Terri. That's up to the parents, the school boards that are elected. They're the ones, and they work hard. And the teachers, meeting with those folks, they care about the kids. The kids know that. And so I want to keep supporting the schools. And
In Olympia, would you support a school choice program or a voucher system or anything along those lines?
I would like to always keep choice out there. but I do not want it to fund the public schools. And my influence would be more to, let's really provide great education for our kids in our state. And yeah, there's always opportunity for different choices, but I want to put the focus on our public schools.
Thank you. Hannah?
Proper education is vital to a society. Public education is part of that, but we need good public education. And we have not been passing tests when it comes to our children graduating with reading or math skills. We pay roughly $20,000 per child every year in the state of Washington to educate them K through 12. That's roughly the same cost as college tuition. And yet when they graduate, they are not proficient in reading. They are not proficient in math. Our teachers are trying to be the best teachers they possibly can be. Our parents support the teachers, but it's obvious that something is awry in our school system. And to be quite honest, I'm concerned that our schools are more concerned about what's between our kids' legs than what's between their ears. They go into schools and then they're inherently told they're broken and they have to be fixed. These are issues. Public education should be focused on basic education, history, reading, writing, math, critical thinking skills. These are the things our children should be leaving schools with. I do support a opt-in school choice. And I say opt-in because I believe parents have the right to choose whether or not they want to take government money or not to educate their children.
Can I just mention that the state of Arizona is going broke with their choice, which is what I've heard a lot of Republicans like bring that up as a model to use. And they're literally, I think they're billions of dollars in a deficit with their, because of what happened. There are so many things bad, and it's created a real tiered system. As soon as they started giving people money to go to with the child did it.
And what kind of system would you support?
I would,
As far as-
currently, I would support a limited opt-in option. There are a lot of parents who feel like they have nowhere to send their child. We are seeing massive bullying issues. We're seeing children committing suicide, and the parents are told, well, you can't move your child to another school district. And this is really a matter of life and death. A parent should be able to go to the state and say, I need to move my child to a different education facility that's best for his mental health and what's best for his education. That's important to me.
That's different.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so does that mean, so if I wanted to move my kids to a different public school, then would the state pay me money to do that?
Well, if it's
So-
another public school, then no, your
Okay.
taxpayers are paying for that, right? Your taxpayer monies are paying for that. But let's just say, maybe you want to homeschool your children. Maybe there's an issue within your family. You're unable to take your child to public school and you have the ability and the means to homeschool them. If they need help with curriculum or help purchasing materials, they're paying into taxpayer dollars and their property taxes. We are already paying into the school system. If they choose to homeschool their child, I think they should opt in to be able to get some of the money paid in back to help pay for curriculum and school materials.
Okay, so the state would pay people to homeschool their children.
If they choose, and I'm very strict on it's an opt-in option only.
Well, I don't understand that part of it. How is that different?
Well, parents have to register their children for school, right? And if every parent registered their child in school and we tracked that somehow, I don't know how, and they said, okay, $20,000 per child per school, per child to go to school, we're not going to get that person $20,000, right? But that's what we're paying in the public school system. And I lost my track of thought. Ask it again.
What is opt-in?
Oh, it just means they ask for it, right? The government doesn't automatically give you money to educate your child. You have to ask for it. Give a reason for it. There's an opt-in option. You just don't go handing out money to everybody who wants it.
Okay.
So, but that would be deducted from that public school district then?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, when a child registers to homeschool or registers out of a school or decides to go to a private school, then yes, they go to the superintendent and they say, I'm declaring that I'm moving my child out of the school system to educate them alternately. And then yes, the school would then lose that $20,000.
You're calling anything else?
No, I don't think
Ben,
so.
anything else? Great, we'll move along. Give us your final pitch for why voters should support you, and feel free to mention any endorsements. you would like to share. And we'll start with Terri this time.
Hi, so thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. I'd love to talk more about it, but I know we have limited time, right? So I'm running because I think the people of West Washington deserve more than the struggles that they're going through right now. I'm running to represent the working class district that I live in and the 17th county. I've traveled across this district from East Vancouver to Goldendale. I've talked to farmers, teachers, firefighters. I've talked to city council members, first responders, small business owners, and I've listened to their stories. Each of these stories tells a story of a lack of progress, high housing costs, lack of accessibility and quality healthcare, underfunded schools, and a concern for changing climate that is threatening us and threatening their livelihood. We owe them more and their children more. I love our district. I love the people that I've met, and I love the people that I've met in the new part of our district. We like our way of life here in Southwest Washington, but our elected leaders need to work harder on the issues that we all face, those kitchen table issues that I was talking about earlier. That's why I'm running for office. I'll find common ground to bring down the cost of our home, groceries, gas, improve healthcare access to workers, and increase wages, create jobs, and build infrastructure so our kids have a shot at the middle class. My story resonates with the people when they're telling their story. My story resonates with them as well. As a single parent and working mother, I knew how hard it was to find childcare. Working long 12-hour shifts and weekends and nights. Things are even harder now than when I was doing it. As a single working mother, I knew how hard it was, just to survive and to afford things. I didn't buy a house until I was, I think in close to 60 years old, I did own my own home. So these are issues that resonate with the people that I'm talking to at the door. And I think that these are issues, and that's why people want to see people like me up in Olympia to represent them, somebody that understands their struggles and they can relate to. I think you'll see in the candidates before you right now the difference of the people in the people that support and endorse them. I'm endorsed by the firefighters. I'm endorsed by the teachers union. I'm endorsed by the Washington State Nursing Association. I'm endorsed by laborers, the Washington State Labor Council. I'm endorsed by working people, and I truly want to be to go to Olympia and be a voice for working families. I think that's what we need. We don't need people that have worked for billionaires, I'm done with the hyper partisanship, and so I'm not going to go farther with that. My commitment to you is I'm not going to engage in the same tired politics of division and hate. I don't want to go around hating on people, but I do think that we have some serious issues to take care of, and I'm ready to take on that challenge.
Great, thank you. David?
So I'm coming for you guys because I care. And I've been in service my whole life. And a lot of people ask me why I just spent 30 years in the Marine Corps. It was like, well, the Marines took such great care of me to get me up to where I was that I had to stay to take care of them. That was kind of my purpose and job. So I see that now. Again, I'm talking about how great it is being the mayor, but I hear about a lot of problems. And my thing is always about, well, how do we fix those? And I can't say I have the answer to fix that, but I know to surround myself by people that can fix those things and listen to their ideas. So I'm excited because I think I earned the respect and trust up in Olympia with the folks that I had to go and deal with up there, that they asked me and said, you know what, you're the type of person we need to come up that can bring and solve problems up there. And so not only was I honored by that comment, but took it to heart and said, you know what, I would love to be able to come up and help provide solutions. So that's why I'm excited about that. To the people being endorsed, I've got the mayors and the cities and the people I've been working with, the first responders. again, they're kind of like the troops, you know, like the fire and police. That's why I love being part of the CRESA, voting member of that, part of the RTC, the Salvation Army. It's, you know, it's a community, and I really care, and I have a lot of passion about building a community, building a safe community, building a prosperous community where people are proud. They want to get back. They're not just being enabled, that they actually take ownership and they're proud to be a part of it. And then they start taking care of their neighbors and their community and their state. And we need to get that back right now. I think we've lost that, not only as a state, but as a nation. We need to start building that community back and that trust in ourselves and our people. That's why I'm up here. I want to next level.
Thank you. And Hannah?
I absolutely love my community. I love the rural living that we've decided to live. I love the ability to raise my children in a place that is happy and safe. And I think that truly the divide is between the people in Olympia. The communities here, we rally around each other so much. We've seen this time and time again when you've had a major fire. It doesn't matter who you are. There's no major divide. You come together and you support your neighbor in their time of need. I would say when I go to Olympia, I want to represent that community. The one who just says, let me live, just let me be, let me live. I would also say that I represent the greatest minority in the state of Washington, which is the individual person. Every individual person has a right for their individual freedoms. I believe in individual responsibility. I've been endorsed by the Clark County Republican Party. I've been endorsed by the state Young Republicans of Washington. I've been endorsed by Sheriff Brown. I've been endorsed by Health for Freedom. And I have many, many other allies behind me. I've spent the last 2 years working at a state level. So I already have state level experience. And I understand how things are played. I want to bring representation, true representation of my community and my people to Olympia and say, listen, Seattle may rule sometimes, but there's at least representation on the rule side here. And above all, I absolutely love the state. America is the greatest nation in this country. And Washington, in my opinion, is the most beautiful state in the nation. And I love it, and I want to see it flourish and continue to grow.
Great. Well, thank you. Thanks to each of you. I'm glad you could join us.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.